Down could have long-term effects for D.C. It could also slam the door on more than $1 billion in local tax money for the city that the city is still waiting to get back.
Its own money.
Yeah.
Money from D.C. taxpayers, not the government. Earlier this year, Congress left a huge gap in the city's budget, and some lawmakers were hoping a short-term funding deal might help fix that.
Yeah, so will D.C. ever get that money? Our Matt Gregory takes a closer look.
So this whole saga started back in March when Congress couldn't reach a budget and instead passed what's called a continuing resolution. The problem was, within the fine print of that resolution was a mechanism that forced D.C. to revert all of its 2025 spending back to 2024 levels. That meant there was a $1.1 billion hole in this year's budget.
Congress took this action. None of us really know why. Again, is it a mistake? Is it a sort of like a statement?
To explain this last-minute accounting, we talked to the head of the D.C. Policy Institute, Yeshim Sayin.
It's not a reduction because we don't have money. The money is still coming. It's coming through the door. Taxes are being paid. But it's essentially a cap on spending.
Yeshim says to cover the cap, district leaders did emergency accounting in 3 ways. They asked to spend around $550 million using emergency legislation. Granted, then another $500 million from delayed payments and shifting money, leaving a much smaller hole.
In my best estimates, this was about a $100 million problem.
But it's still D.C.'s money. So when we went to the Hill this month, we asked lawmakers, will you let D.C. have its billion back?
I've been very vocal that money should be returned to Washington, D.C.
Republican James Comer sounded a lot like Democrat Glenn Ivey.
But we should also not forget the $1.1 billion of the district's money that the Republicans are withholding. That money should be released.
But other Republicans, like Maryland's Andy Harris, strongly disagree.
They hold the money. They can't spend it. That's right.
They can't spend it. Okay.
They should look carefully at where they spend their dollars.
Now, there was a plan to release those funds in the current CR that Congress is fighting over, but the fiscal year ends September 30th. So if the CR doesn't pass before then, D.C. just has to move on. So the concern is, if Congress did this during the last continuing resolution debate without a reason, what's to stop them from doing it again this time, especially when you hear things like this from Tennessee Republican Tim Burchett?
There has to be accountability. We can't just give them a blank check. I think we need to take a more administrative role in that.
Just another reason for district leaders to keep their eyes on Congress. On Capitol Hill, I'm Matt Gregory, WUSA 9.